So I'm kind of picturing, well, obviously, well, not really panoramic so much, but, well, it's panoramic due to its width and low height, but sort of just a rambling shoreline here. Something fairly sort of west coast of Canada, probably quite rocky, but I think sheltered. So, you know, I was standing here for a while looking at it, and as you can see, I put a mark in there and stood back and thought, okay, is that enough water? Because from here down is pretty much water. Don't want it to occupy too much of the painting. It's going to be about the rocky structure and what lies behind it. And then I thought, no, I need a little more, so I put a mark in there. And, you know, ultimately I thought, no, we'll go just a little more yet. So I've put in my straight line, just the division of water and stone. It's going to vary. There will be, you know, a few stones that'll probably come a little below that just to break it up a little bit, along with a bit of light reflection here and there. Anyway, that's not much accomplishment yet. So, I don't know yet exactly how the rocky structure is going to go, but I sort of, you know, I have an idea as to the general shape of the shoreline. You know, this will be water, this will be shoreline. Above that we'll be looking up sort of into the trees behind the shoreline. That's the plan anyway. So I'm just going to throw something on here and see how it looks. It's just a line. I think, as I've said before, it's just a shape. Now, you know, this is one small sort of knoll, and behind it is another one, not way off in the distance, just slightly behind it, I'm thinking. So I thought as well, what if I were to just, what if I were to plant a bit of a tree right there? I may have made this too important already. I'm really not sure yet. I'm just going to get rid of that. I don't want this trunk terminating exactly where this hill terminates into this hill. I would like to show that it flows behind it a little bit. So that's why I've left a little bit there. That's my thinking now. You know, that could change. It could change. It always changes. Just put something jagged there, and that'll be a bit of a rock. Yeah, I'm already thinking I've made that too important. But we'll leave it for now. Okay, I'm going to sit and think for a second. So, as you can see, I've already barely gotten started, and I've moved this tree to the left a little bit. I felt it was very important towards the edge of the scene. I want something that's, if it's going to be this important, it should be more towards the middle. Also, I took away this line that runs down and off. I just swoop the hill kind of thing. That being said, what I should be doing right now is focusing on the rocky structure. Sunlight's going to come in here, I think from the right. It's going to splash on the hillside a little bit. It's going to catch some interesting hues and values in the rock along here. So what I should be doing, and what I'm going to start doing right now, is designing the rocky structure here. Then accommodating that design with how my trees, which direction my trees are going to head off in different directions. The placement, the thickness, the intensity, the design of all these trees and this foliage in the background, that has to accommodate this. This is the focal area. This does not have to accommodate that. So I'm kind of going backwards. We're going to fix that right now. In a lot of cases where rock meets water, things can be undercut a little bit. So I'm just wondering if this is something I should do here. I know that when I'm drawing, you can't know what I have in my mind's eye, but I guess my real point is just to show that I'm not afraid to scratch things in. And if I'm reasonably confident with what I've got going on, I'll reinforce it a little bit darker. There's still, of course, easily the possibility of changing it. Although, every time you put a line on there, you do mar the surface of your painting a little bit. I'm thinking this rock will probably catch a decent amount of light around here, and then it'll be a little bit undercut. Here, it's mostly undercut, a little bit darker towards here. So that, if this is in the shadows, this will help punch out a little bit with sunlight on here. Okay, those are the first rock thoughts. As you can see, I'm making this video using a lot of little clips. That's because I'm spending a lot of time sitting in my chair thinking about what I want to do. I am making this up from a combination of, well, really from my imagination, but also from a lot of experience of exploring shorelines on the west coast and, well, of Canada and of a lot of different lakes. So it takes a bit of thought. I don't want to make it too simple, because that would be too easy. Anyway, what I thought was, I kind of like the shape of this rock. It might just stick out, and these lines might not be quite as important as I have them now. Okay, never mind that. I kind of think that I would like to have sort of a bit of a rock come in from the left-hand side here that sits in front, and maybe have this looking a little bit, this undercut coming a little bit higher to give some interest back there. So that, of course, will be slightly lower, ever so slightly lower. than where the water line meets this rock. I don't want to come way down here because that's not going to fit the general feel of this, sort of panoramic look of the shoreline. Put a couple lines in there to break it up. Okay, with me it's one rock at a time, certainly on a shore like this. It happens so easily for your rocks to become a whole bunch of potatoes. Each rock has a similar design, each rock has a similar shape. That gets really boring because in nature, in reality, we have everything from pebbles of sand to boulders the size of houses and larger. And not only do you need to vary the size and shape, there is a design within each rock which will vary a little bit in color and in value as well. So that's why I take long to do these kind of things. I'm not painting rocks. I'm painting structure. And it keeps changing. But I'm never sure exactly what to do until I have some scratch on here. Once I've done that, I modify it, remove details, add details, move things around. I'm still more or less sticking though with that first shape, this. I like that idea. I think that's a good way to top off our bank, our shoreline. Everything in here is well, I know it's the most important, but I'm going to use, I'm going to fill this space the best I can. I'm already a little concerned because this is the center of our painting, and this is going to be in the shadow. That's all right, because I guess right next to it there's going to be a lot of light here. We'll see. So I don't have to do this all the time, but when I do a painting like this, I do have to be very careful, very thoughtful and slow. I've kind of written off this week. It's a pretty busy week for me, so I'm just pecking away at things, and I'm not too concerned about getting a lot done. But okay, I'm just gonna draw. I think I'm going to want to drop this line a little bit. I like what's going on with it. I may end up having just a bush out there. Seeing as this is going down, let's have something opposing it going up. At least for the moment. I've always been good at one-liners. Maybe there's an arbutus tree. This is shaped like that, that's shaped like this. I think the trunk would go like this. Maybe there's an arbutus tree just sort of out of range of the water, but just getting sort of towards the top. Make it quite red when I paint it, I think. Okay, I put some lines in. Now let's take some lines out. Yeah. That could be interesting. That could definitely be interesting. And I don't know why, I always like to stick these branches. just sort of, you know, there's no greenery on them, but they just kind of stick out of trees sometimes. They have a lot of character. And another thing, maybe what if we had, you know, sort of a good way to frame in again our more intense area. What if we had a bit of a, let me just back up a moment here. What if we had, okay, the shape I kind of like. Let's stick a bit of a bush in there. Okay, that's a bit round. I don't know if I'm going to leave that trunk showing, but just for the moment, just to sort of keep it looking a little more natural. Put some lines in. And erase some others. Don't forget, these are just, this is just first round pick. We're gonna refine and hone our lines as we go here. Okay, I don't think I want it quite that shape up there, but okay. Yeah. All right. That's, I think that's continuing to improve. I'm looking ahead now, and I drew this one-liner in, thinking for the moment, okay, this is going to dip down, this will be in shadow, this will be in light. There'd be a lot of strength here. I needed to oppose this line by going up here. But something I would like to maintain in this painting is the ability to look past the top of the hill as well. This will be the highest value. There may be some pretty considerable chroma back here. Very close to competing with this, but not quite. It's an effect that I like. I like to be able to look over the hill a little bit. So right now, I'm going to ignore what I've drawn here. I'm going to decide that here, somewhere within this circle, there's going to be some kind of a design of high value in greens. all across the top here, we're going into greens, various greens, some burnt sienna on the trunks, what have you. So that would be cutting into the bush. If I were to dip into that, if I were to cut into it with this bush, it would stop your eye because you'd be looking at this bush, even if it's done as a silhouette. I don't want the high values to be up here, too close to the edge of the painting. I want them to be close enough to the focal area that they actually support the focal area. Okay? So that is not going to remain a circle, but you'll begin to see when I wash the painting in, you will definitely see it when I paint it. The strength that comes into this area. So again, just revisiting thoughts and still trying to maintain the original idea that I had on this top line. Maintained but modified. This is fun. I keep playing. I've dropped this line some more now because I had enough information in other areas to think, okay, I think I can bring this lower. That'll bring this sort of what you might call a secondary focal area closer to this one. You know, that's the fun of being an artist, artist's license. You're the chef. It's like a chef. As you're cooking things, you taste them and you say, okay, this needs a bit more of that. That needs a bit more of that. That has to be cooked in a different way than this does. Once the dish is done, if it's not good, you own it. But until it's done, you get to flavor it any way you want. You're the impresario of your own orchestra. I love that. Look at the mess I'm making. I love that too.